Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Daniela. Today I'm coming at you with a bit of a different perspective here. It's going to be the tabletop view because I'm going to do a palette collection slash no pan left behind slash pan in every palette. So yeah, it'll be a bit on the longer side, but I'll try to keep it brief. Also, just in case anyone's wondering, these are IL&P nail polishes. I got them really recently. They are in Olive Grove and Hayride. So here they are. It's from one of their fall collections. For my palettes, there's some that are on the older side, like 5 years old. There's some that are very new. There's like 2 or 3 palettes I don't have with me because they're back at my family's place in another city. But this is pretty much most of my collection. I'll go through each palette, point out if I've decluttered any shades, which ones I've hit pan in. And my thought process for these projects is there isn't really an end date. I mean, no pan left behind will definitely end sooner than pan in every palette. But the goal of pan in every palette is to hit pan in every palette, so however long that takes. And I'll do updates. I won't have like a specific schedule for it, pretty much when I have some good progress to update on. So let's get started with the Natasha Denona palettes. I'm adding in this clip because I got another palette and I want to add in a few more comments. So as you can see, it's Christmas time now, and I've got my Christmas theme nails going. So yeah, since we're talking about Natasha Denona, I got the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This is something I wasn't gonna get before, but then it was on sale, and thinking about it, especially the shadows individually, I was really liking them. And I really like these, the creams, the creamy mattes, as they're called. But yeah. So this I've only swatched. As you can see, it will be another 28 shadows to work on for the no pan left behind. But what I wanted to add in was that I'm gonna do a rule for myself that can't buy any eyeshadow palettes until I've accomplished the no pan left behind goal. So first I'll start with the Natasha Denona Gold palette. This one I've got quite a few shades missing. So when I first got this, I got this through that in history's past Sephora gift card that you could get with points, and I sold off some of the shades that I knew I wouldn't use or I didn't like as much. So now I have 8 shadows, some dips, but still no pan. Then I've got the pastel palette. Got this one earlier in the year. I really like pastels. These are really fun. These mid-size ones, the pans aren't as deep as the full-size palettes. But yeah, no pans in here. Then this one I got very recently. It was on sale because I think Natasha Denona is leaving Sephora. So yeah, I got this one really recently, so I've only really swatched them. Not sure yet what I'll work on to hit pan. Normally for Natasha Denona, it's a shimmer because the mattes are very hard. And last of the larger Natasha Denona palettes is the Triochrome palette. To be honest, this one I got mostly for the mattes that I really liked. They're very fun and different. I really like the sort of neon greenish, like sort of yellow. I like these two Triochromes. This one's kind of lackluster. But yeah, I've used this a bit, but nothing close to pan. Probably for hitting pan, it would be something like maybe Vertex, which is kind of a cool tone brown, easy to work with. Then I've got some mini palettes. This one is my oldest one. This is the Mini Star. I have 2 pans in this one. Next one will probably be this guy, but this is one I'm definitely going to focus on soon. Then I've got the Mini Love. I really like this guy as an inner corner. Probably hit pan on one of these 2 guys. I've got the Mini Retro. I really like this palette. Love this shadow. It's like a pink with silver and blue reflex. And this gray is actually not very like just gray. It has slight like oliviness to it, so at least with my skin tone it works really well. And this gray can also be worn pretty sheer, so it looks really nice on the eyes and not too dark. This is another one I really want to focus on. Maybe hitting pan on this guy. Then I've got the Mini Nude. I love the quality of this guy. I hit pan in this one. It's a very tiny pan, but it took a really long time because you only need the lightest swat, like the lightest touch in here for both eyes. Then this one I really like as an inner corner. This one I got pretty recently. It's the Mini Biba. Before I thought that, you know, maybe it's boring and such, but I actually really like this. On this side we got more of the true brown, and on this side it's sort of like peachy nudes. And this is a very versatile shimmer. So for hitting pan, it would probably be the shimmer, but I'm not sure yet. It doesn't really have much use in it, so it'll be a while till I hit pan. Then we got the Mini Bronze. This is one of the most recent ones I bought. This one also is, I don't wear warm tones all the time, but yeah, I just really like the quality of these Mini Natasha Denona palettes, so I picked it up anyways. This guy looks like it would be kind of a nude, but this is still like orange leaning. Not sure what I'll hit pan first there. Then we got the Natasha Denona Mini Glam. This one I thought would be lackluster, but I actually really like it. Even like this brown is actually pretty neutral and works well to darken up a lot of shadows. I really like the reflect on this guy, and this is a very multi-dimensional nude shade. Then I've got one of the larger 5-pan palettes. This is called Ayana. And this one I think was from BoxyCharm. I've never been subscribed to BoxyCharm, but when I heard about it, I looked for it on Facebook Marketplace, see if someone was selling it, and someone was in the neighborhood. They hadn't used it before, so I was able to get this at a good price, unused, and I really like it. Very nice neutrals, very easy to wear. This is kind of like a greenish silver, so it's actually quite interesting. And the last of the Natasha Denona palettes is the Glam Face palette. Very reflective packaging. So here, this has a cream blush and highlight. This highlight is beautiful. The cream blush is not very creamy. I haven't had this palette that long, but it's on the drier side. I'd pretty much consider it more as just a powder blush. And these shadows I've barely used, but I do need to start using them more. Very easy to wear nudes, very reflective shimmers. So I can't wait to play around with these guys. Okay, next I have my ABH eyeshadow palettes. First of all, I've got this Modern Renaissance. So this palette is actually my second one. The first one I had, I worked on panning. I finished just a few shadows. A lot of them went bad, so I want to make sure to use this one more before it gets bad again. I got this on a good sale when they were discontinuing it, and even though I was able to dupe it out before in my collection, I just really missed it, so I got it again. So yeah, at this point there's no pans. It's very easy to hit pan though, so I'm not worried about that, but yeah, I just have to use it in general. Then I have the Sultry palette, very reflective. This guy does have some pans. So for this, I did get rid of Cinder. I just really did not like the color and the texture and everything. I do have pan in Pearl, Birch, and Cyborg. Used to be easier to see, but I swatched it and it kind of covered the pan. This is a very nice silver, very unique, has like a taupe undertone, makes it more wearable. I have also put magnets on the back of most of these spots so that I could rearrange. Like I like to put Bloom over here, swap it with Steampunk. I like the color story a lot more like that. I mean, Bloom, I actually just like it more as a blush. It's also kind of like a public consensus I've heard on YouTube. So yeah, I definitely want to focus more on this palette this year. Then I have the Soft Glam. I got this guy because I like the Modern Renaissance. Although I like the Modern Renaissance more, this one's a bit warm leaning, more warm than I normally wear. Like Dusty Road's more up my alley. I've always wanted to use Sienna, and I actually really like Rustic. I feel like I don't really see why there's two of these shadows. They're so similar. And yeah, it's not my favorite layout, but color story. But yeah, I do also need to focus on this because it's getting older. The easiest, maybe Tempera, easiest thing to work on. Sultry has a good dip. But yeah. Dose of Colors, pretty cool palette. This one I depotted. I actually still have the palette, but I use it for other things. So it's these 5 guys here. Got a really good dip on this. This was actually in my Level Up project. And I'm really slow at panning, so I kind of left that at the wayside. Yeah, like this one, I was getting close to 20 uses, and I've used it a lot before, and it's only like maybe halfway down there. So if I'm gonna hit pan on one of these, it'd probably be this one because it's the closest, but yeah. Then I have the Too Faced Tickled Peach palette. Really like this palette for traveling. It's a very nice summer themed palette. I love the mattes. They blend so easily. The shimmer is lovely. Actually, I don't like this pink as much. It's kind of dry. And this guy works out pretty well for blending out any purple, like deepening any purple look. It's not actually too dark. But yeah, I do need to hit pan in this. I know these mattes normally Too Faced takes forever to hit pan. So maybe one of the shimmers, I'm not sure yet, but I do love this. I love the packaging. I have these Strobe, or they go now by Shroud, I think, Cosmetics. This is the Creepy Cute palette. I love this pastel palette. Very good pastels. You don't even need a white base. I worked on them before, like this purple probably has the deepest dip, but they're very hard pressed, so it takes a while, or you just don't need a lot of product to see the color. So yeah, I do need to focus on this guy and hit a pan. I actually love this black as a liner. It's really good. It kind of has this thickness to it that makes it work really well as an eyeliner. But as you can probably tell, it doesn't even look like I've touched it. But I've actually used this tons of times. So yeah. So the first one is the Huda Mauve Obsessions. This is like my actual oldest complete palette in my collection. Some older palettes I had depotted and such, and I've only have like 1 or 2 shadows I've left. This is the only one that is still like in its packaging. It's actually still together. I finished 1 shadow more than 3 years ago now. These 2 shadows I decluttered. They were like these bright reds, and this one's kind of a Franken of a few of the pinks. So I did have pan in all of these. This is one that I've contemplated many times decluttering, just because I've had it a long time, it's older, but the shadows still work. Maybe this guy's losing some pigment, but they all still work well. So I kind of just want to keep working on it slowly, see where I get with it eventually whenever it gets too old. It would be really nice to finish the shadow. But yeah. Then I've got the Huda Gemstone Obsessions palette. This is actually the second one of this palette. The first one I had, I hit pan in every shadow. It was also one that was getting older, and when they were discontinuing this palette, I bought it on sale. This was actually at my family home for quite a while, so I haven't had much use in it again. But like, I love like this shadow, like it wouldn't be a problem to hit pan again. Then this nude light palette is one of my newer Huda palettes. I kind of forgot about it. Like, I'd always hear about it on YouTube, and it sort of made me always kind of want to get it. So then when it was on sale, I got it. It is a very nice color story. For being only 9 pans, it's very concise in a good way. That's usable. So yeah, I do have to get more use out of this. There's not much wear in it. Yeah. Then I have the Neon Orange Obsession palette. I love neon, and I love this packaging. This is how it's looking. I have 3 pans. These are all in the shimmers. All the other shadows actually have some good dips, you can see there. And this is actually a different shadow. The original was this sort of a muted yellow, like it wasn't a neon yellow like the rest of the palette, and I didn't really like it at all, so I repressed this old ABH shadow from the Prism palette. I really like this. Now I've got some good yellows that can replace it, but since it's in this palette, it works well with the palette, just leave it in there. But yeah. And my last Huda palette is the new Nude. This was a gift from my boyfriend because I'd been wanting this palette. And then I had it in a Do You Pan My Battleship project. That was very fun. I got pretty much all of these pans because of that project. It was a lot of fun. Very motivating since you want to hit pan before your opponent. This shadow I had actually finished. This is concealed. It's what was the sort of primer, like cream base thing. It wasn't a great primer, but I used it up since it's cream. I didn't want it to go bad. I didn't want it to get all yucky from getting colors from the rest of the shadows in it. So I do have one finished. I also decluttered the glitters because I don't use glitters on my eyes. I sort of regret it because this happened like right before the whole trend started with using eyeshadows for nail polish. And if I'd known about that, I would have used the glitters for nail polish, but it's too late now. This is another shadow I repressed into here that works really well with these two. Really like that trio. This is a shadow from another palette that I'll talk about in a sec. That also really works well in this palette. So I only have 2 pans left in here, so I'm hoping I can hit pan on those this year. This guy I've used tons, and it still just has a dip. And this guy I've also used a bit, very hard pressed. But yeah. These were also a gift from my boyfriend. So one is the Nomad Harajuku palette. This is their Japan themed palette. Love the packaging. I was definitely much more of a weeb when I was younger. So yeah, I really like this. I also really like pastels. And as you can see, I've got 3 pans. This one, it's massive pan, but I love this shadow. It's very good topper. It's good for pairing with tons of different pastels. These grays are wearable, like this is a very wearable black, and for deepening. And I really like all these shimmers. They're all sort of that Super Shock feel. So yeah, I just really enjoy this palette. And my other Nomad palette is the Nomad Cartagena Mágica palette. Also love this packaging, and also because I'm Colombian and this is Colombia themed, really wanted it. I haven't used it as much as I should. But yeah, this year I definitely want to get more use on it. I'd been working on these in the 50 Shades of Yellow, but I want to get more use, especially like on these guys that are very wearable. Really like these guys too. I say the one that I don't like from this palette is this guy. But yeah, I do need to hit a pan. It would most likely be one of the shimmers. But yeah. Then another indie palette I have is the Colored Rain Safari Rain palette. This is one of my favorite fall palettes. very fall leaf colors. I have a pan in this guy. This guy I would say is like almost a spot-on dupe for the Natasha Denona Brass Shadow from the gold palette. Yeah, this pan took me quite a while to hit pan, because it's one of those shadows you only need to like slightly touch, and it's extra foiled, like lovely on the eyes. So yeah, and these mattes are also very hard pressed, so it takes a while to hit pan on those. First of all, I have the Naked palette. So this one, I got this palette actually when it was being discontinued. You know, it was on sale. I'd always sort of wanted it, never really wanted to pay the full price for it. A bunch of the other shadows I didn't like, so eventually I decluttered them. So this is what I have left. I actually have a pan in Virgin, this sort of satin shade. I had a hit pan. I've used up half the shadow and the rest is repressed here. So I do want to try and finish it this year. But yeah, so I do have a pan in this palette. You just can't see it right now. I mean, it's very useful packaging since it's a tin. Oops. That was loud. So I've been focusing on these two guys in the 50 Shades of Yellow project. This guy, I've got a dip now, but it's a very hard press, like cream shadow, so not sure when I'll hit pan on this. And this is the one shade I decluttered because I really didn't like it. So if I had to put my money on hitting pan in something here, it would probably be this shade, even though it'd take forever. But other than that, like Urban Decay shadows take forever, so any other one would also take forever. Okay, so next we have some singles and depotted shadows. So here I have these depotted shadows from my Milani Must Have Naturals palette. There was a sort of creamy yellow color here. I hit pan in that. I have this pinkish shade that really I use more as a highlighter. I've got really big pan in that, very big dip. And then I had a black. So yeah, for this palette, I have a pan here that you can see. But also these guys, I really need to work on. This guy's actually very good. Crease shadow, very versatile. This guy's a bit more gray. And then I have these Sydney Grace singles, which they are singles, but I do want to work on them. So I'll still include them here sort of as one palette of the Sydney Grace singles. So all of these guys are Sydney Grace. I do have one pan here. This guy is Bailey's Bliss. Use it as an inner corner. It was not my favorite. But yeah, definitely want to get more use in these guys. Very lovely shimmers. I need to use the mattes more. I've not touched them much. I feel like for Sydney Grace, the shimmers can kind of be hit or miss. Like these guys are lovely, but there's some other ones, maybe like this blue, or I had a pink before, didn't really like. Yeah, I just have to play around with them more. I really like this yellow. I had this in the 50 Shades of Yellow project. It sort of has a slight pink shimmer to it. Not very noticeable, but just enough to give it dimension, and it's very lovely. Next, I have a sleek palette. This one is the Oh So Special. It is a palette I wanted for many, many years. I had decluttered these shadows, and I just repressed some palettes from my some shadows from my collection that I knew I liked and were similar to what was there before. I had hit pan in this guy, and yeah, other than that, like, I've worked on this guy before, so he has a bit of a dip, but very hard pressed. Yeah, it's nice. It'd be nice to travel with. It's not too heavy. I also have the very small, one of those super mini palettes they have. I got that after I saw people panning it in the Tiny Pans project, because I really liked it, especially for travel. I don't have it with me right now. It's back in my family home, but when I do have it, I would use it for traveling. And it's called the Oh So Special palette. Oh, not the Oh So, the All Night Long palette. This one is the Oh So Special. Then we have these Revolution palettes. First, we have the Looney Tunes and I Heart Revolution palette. This is the Bugs palette. So most of these shadows don't have much use in them, so I need to get more use out of them. But I do actually have a pan. So the Lola shade I had in the Huda Mauve palette. I hit pan there. That was in a project at some point, I think. And then I repressed it into here because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with that Huda Mauve palette. So I repressed it into here. There's no more pan anymore. But I do think it would pair really well with these shadows, so that's why I put it here. And the whole reason I had depotted in the first place is because that shadow did not work well in this palette. It's very emollient, and this palette is cardboard, so it just started seeping out. So I repressed it, different palette, added a bit of Duraline, and it was good as new. So yeah, it didn't really fit in with this palette anyways. But yeah, this palette does technically have one pan. My other Revolution palette is the Revolution times Roxy palette. I don't know who she is, but I really like this color story. Some nice pinks, very beautiful taupe, mauve. It's a very nice white shimmer for inner corner. But yeah, I need to get more use in this. I can still see the imprints. Yeah, very cute palette. Then we have my BH Zodiac palettes. These were depotted. I also don't have the matte shadows. Those are still in my family home. Some I like. I just don't really want to bring them with me at this moment, but I love the shimmers. These guys over here are from the BH Zodiac Love. I love that palette. I have two pans. The pink one's a bit harder to see. But yeah, love these. Like, these are great for pastels and such. And then all of these here are from the BH Zodiac palette, which I got because I like the Zodiac Love. These shimmers are also super lovely. These work well for every day. These are also very beautiful. So yeah, I don't have any pans in the BH Zodiac palette, so I do need to hit pan in one of these. And now the last category I'll be talking about is my ColourPop palettes. So I have the Hello Kitty quads. I do have the third one, which is, so there was one that was called Cocoa Cutie, which was the blue one. I just have the mattes from it. The shimmers were pretty similar to the blues in the Cine Gray single, so I didn't want to bring two of them. And they're not my favorite, but I do like these mattes. Neither these mattes nor the original shimmers from the palette have pan. Then we have this one's the Teeny Keeny. This one is the orange palette. I just worked on this. Really like these, really like the shimmers. They're soft, but they'll take a while to hit pan. And this guy is the Pineapple Cake, which is the all yellow. Really like it as well. The shimmers are a bit drier, but yeah, I have some dips, but it'll take a while to hit pan. I'd actually gotten all four. There was a pink one, but the order was messed up and that one wasn't packaged. So I didn't get it, but I don't really care to get it again later, so just these for now. Then one I got recently was this guy, the Star Wars Mandalorian The Child palette. This is one that I always wanted because, you know, Baby Yoda, Grogu, so cute. Wasn't too sure about the color story because these greens don't always work well with me, but I saw a lot of people working on this palette. I thought it was very versatile. Really like these guys. I can make the greens work, so yeah, I got it. Big Star Wars fan, so definitely wanted this guy. And then this guy was a gift from my boyfriend with a few other ColourPop things. This is a palette that when it first came out, I kind of dismissed it because I don't care too much about Tinkerbell. But then the more I thought about it later, I really liked the color story. I really like these greens, bright green. Not really sure how the mauves go well with it, but I would just really like the color story. And so yeah, when I came back in stock in ColourPop, I really wanted it. And these guys are also like the full size pans, so I can put other typical size singles in here. Then I've got the other Star Wars palette. This one I still keep the packaging because I really like it. So this one, it's pretty new, so no pans as well. Some shadows are definitely a lot harder to use than others. You know, such as the blues, the reds. These guys look very fun to use since the color can change depending on where you dip into. This guy works really well as an inner corner. It's probably what I would hit pan in first. One of the Super Shocks. But yeah, also the neutrals work really well. Really like this palette. And also helps that it's Star Wars. Then I've got the Glowing Coconuts palette. Really like this palette, the neutrals. I love this shadow. I'm currently working on it in the 50 Shades of Yellow because it has this gold flip to it, like a shimmer. Very beautiful. It's very soft. Only need a tiny little dab and you've got enough for both eyes. The rest of these neutrals are really light. They're very unique. But I do need to use this palette more. Maybe I'll hit pan on this guy first, even though it takes forever, but we'll see. Then the next few 9 pans I got from they had a set of 6. I gave 2 to my cousin, and I kept these 4. So first we have the Little Ray of Sunshine. This guy I'm working on currently in my 50 Shades of Yellow project. I've used them, but they are ColourPop mattes, so they're hard pressed. Really like these yellows. Maybe I would hit pan on this guy since it's most versatile, but we'll see. Then we have the Making Moms palette. I had decluttered some of the shadows because I didn't like them, but the rest I do. And they're also unique, but yeah, I need to use these guys more. Then we have the Nude Mood. This guy was at my family's home, so I didn't have it for a while. I just got it now. No pans in here. Got a really good dip in this Super Shock sort of shadow, so it's probably what I'll hit pan on. Then we have That's Taupe. So I decluttered these 3 shades. This black is from some other older palette I depotted. I'm just leaving in here because a black is pretty useful with these cool neutrals. So yeah, need to work on this guy too. It was also at family home, so yeah, there hasn't been much use in it recently. And the last things I'll be talking about is my ColourPop 35 pan palettes. So first, I've got the Stone Cold Fox palette. This guy, I had decluttered some of the shades, but I kept almost all of it, really. It's really the shades that are those matte with glitters, or they're very light shadows that were just really redundant in these ColourPop palettes. So I gave those to my cousin a while back. It's been like 2 years now. So yeah, I really like colors in here, but I do need to use it more. There's nothing that's even close to hitting pan. And the last palette is the Bare Necessities palette. This guy I had decluttered more of to my cousin, but yeah, this is what I've got right now. We've got some cooler tones, some peaches, some pinks, purples, warm browns. This guy is very similar to that shimmer in the Going Coconuts palette. I've used this a lot. This is probably like at least 20 uses. Very good dip, but no pan yet. So it's probably what I would hit pan on next for this palette. But yeah, in general, I need to use my ColourPop palettes more. And yeah, so that's it for today. That is all of my palettes. I still need to hit a lot of pans. I'm gonna count real quick how many palettes I have, sort of specifically for this project, how many palettes in those pans in those palettes I have right now. And yeah, just a sec. Okay, so I finished calculating. I have 49 palettes I'm working on in this project, and I currently have 14 palettes with at least one pan. So yeah, there's quite a bit of work to do. this is sort of a project where I'll definitely be throwing in some of these palettes into other projects so that I make sure to work on them. There are some palettes that I'm going to work on in a Panda palette, and you'll see that soon in January. But yeah, other than that, there'll be updates when there's progress, because I'm very slow at painting eyeshadow. I don't use a lot at a time, and especially where I live, it's a bit dry, so I don't have to add too much powder to my eyes, because then it looks just very crippy and dry. So yeah, thank you for watching. It was a very long video, and yeah, have a good day or good night. Thanks. Bye.